It's Sunday once again, and it's Ask the Drummer Day. Oh my God! Oh, I really love Sundays because it makes me so happy whenever I get the chance to talk to the drummers because I just love them so much. And this week, today actually, is a very special day because we've got two episodes on Ask the Drummer. There's the afternoon session with my guest and right now, and also there's going to be an evening one because he was supposed to be on Ask the Drummer like 5 6 weeks ago but didn't make it, so hopefully he'll be there later this evening, but I'll tell you more about it later on after this afternoon session. So yeah, my dear friends, please welcome, let's just say all together now, please welcome Roy Boulter of The Farm. Hold on, I can't find my there.
Right on.
Hello,
Okay.
Roy. Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, yeah. I'm good, yeah. Lovely
What,
sunny afternoon, sitting in a dark basement. What could be better?
what what's the weather like there at the moment? Because
It's
it's still
Liverpool. It's always sunny, Anne.
it's not like in Manchester it always rains. No, it doesn't.
I couldn't possibly say that.
No, because it doesn't rain really. Yeah, thank you so much for saying yes to us, to drummer, because I know that you don't really do a lot of days because you're not even on social media. You're not on
No,
Facebook.
no. Too many opinions out there. Nobody needs mine.
Well, everybody else from the farm, like Peter Hooton and Steve Grimes and everybody, they're all on social media. And I'm really grateful. Yeah.
Don't know.
And I'm really grateful that I'm actually friends with all of them.
I'm not.
But yes, because also another thing is I know that you're a very busy person because when you're not drumming you're also like writing scripts or producing films and all that,
Mhm.
so thank you very much.
You're
uh,
welcome.
but before I actually start asking you questions about your drumming career and your life, I want to say Joe Musker said hello
Now
hello
then,
to you.
sausage.
Yeah.
Joe
when
Praise. God bless him. I haven't seen him for a while. I watched his interview with you, and it was great.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. What a man that is. We've got lots of stories about him. Good
yeah,
one.
he's lovely, Joe. And also Steve Powell.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Steve Powell said, "You're a lovely lad." So
Coming from one of the nicest men in rock, that's a tribute.
yeah, again, so like another one who's another musician who's, I think you're a well loved musician, a well loved drummer. So another one is Yorkie Palmer.
Yeah,
He said that he's my neighbor,
yeah, yeah,
and I remember it now because I watched a documentary about Yorkie's mom.
yeah.
It was I think it was shown in 95,
About 95. Yeah,
95, 96.
we actually pitched it to them in '94, and originally they were going to commission it for an hour, and it was going on and on and on, and in the end they said, "Look, we just can't commit to this for an hour, but we can give you a 15 minute slot in a magazine." So we did all the interviews, and it went out as a 15 minute. Very proud of that because she was a lovely woman, Gladys, absolute diamond.
Yeah, I wish they actually did it for an hour because it just makes
Yeah,
me feel like that I want more, especially especially for us, being so like I'm originally from the Philippines,
yeah,
seeing Paul Simpson there.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
uh,
you could have easily filled an hour on Gladys
yeah,
on air. Never mind the bands that practiced there. She literally was the godmother of Liverpool rock, and I think the reason I came up with the idea was we were on tour somewhere, and I was reading Head On, Cope's book, and he wrote a page on her about this cartoon woman, and she was my neighbour. So I was sitting there laughing my head off, and I think he may have phrased the godmother of Liverpool rock, or maybe I did it for the program. I don't know, but I mean, everybody we asked, I think, said yeah. McCulloch couldn't do it. I think Granada reached out to Mick Head. I'm not sure, so it's so long ago. But
yeah,
bands that rehearsed there, just unbelievable, the effect that woman had on, I mean, obviously it's Yorkie. Yorkie was the catalyst for it, but that's
Yeah.
how you can tell a lot of stories.
I think this recent interview that I've read about Mick Head, I think he didn't actually say it was Gladys House, but he mentioned something that Paul Simpson told him to go to this
That's
place.
Yeah,
This,
that's right. Yeah.
so I think it was that one. It was referring
Well,
to.
yeah. I mean, there's long before we didn't move in till '91, so it
Yeah.
was it was before we moved in. But I knew Yorkie just from bands. Liverpool is a village, and so you come across everyone. So I've been in bands since I was like 14. Came across Yorkie. I
Yeah.
remember went to see Kraftwerk in the early '80s, and I was sitting between Yorkie and Pete out of the Buzzcocks, and the three of us
Oh
were on
wow.
our own, and the three of us were watching Kraftwerk.
Oh God, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so Yorkie still lives there
He does,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
middle. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Do you want
because
me to shout him because you can hear from here? All the down here, so you can hear everything that goes on next door.
because I was telling you earlier before we came on live that I love Liverpool music, but when you go to Liverpool, you can only go to a Liverpool music tour, but mainly about the Beatles.
Yeah,
But I always tell people there's more to Liverpool than just the Beatles. I
yeah,
mean, the world loves the Beatles. Everybody loves the Beatles, but
yeah,
for someone like us who's like from the Philippines, we
yeah.
wanted to go on a tour where we could actually sort of like see places like where Mick had, used to rehearse or
Somehow,
your
don't think Yorkie's cellar tours would take off, to be honest. But I think there'd be a few people who'd be interested. But I don't think you're going to get the Magical Mystery tour down here.
yeah, because if he still lives there, I don't think the National Trust would actually sort of like turn
Yeah,
him.
that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I just want to say that Aiden O'Rourke, who's my husband, my tech support, he said that visuals looking good, sound is great, so that's brilliant. And Tom, he said hello, so he's joined us live. So right, welcome to Ask the Drummer,
Thank you.
episode 51. So 51 now is all about you, Roy Boulter. So, you're born and raised in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Okay. When you would, so I was going to say, what was it like growing up? Or what was Liverpool like when you were growing up?
Um, yeah, I think everybody or most people about their childhood would just say it was great. It was. I grew up in the '70s. Um, people say there was deprivation. I don't remember that. We lived in a rented house in Tubrook, um, in a terraced house. It was great. I played out every night till 10 o'clock. Played footy. It's hard to go on about it without sounding like some kind of old fogey nostalgia Billy Butler type character. But it was a great upbringing. I started going to match on my own when I was 9. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. I'd walk to Anfield, play out, play footy every night. It was just an idyllic childhood as I remember it.
Yeah, well, you said you mentioned Tubrook. How
Yeah.
does that's a funny name because how do you actually say? Is it on road signs? It says DUE and then Brook. So
Well,
is it two words or one word?
there's actually a brook called Chew behind what was the Carlton Cinema on West Derby Road. So it's actually Chew Brook, but everybody uses it as one word.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't
Sort
know.
of it's sort of a weird place because it's not North Liverpool, it's not South Liverpool. So we were always just in the middle. I mean, I went to Anfield Comp, which is North Liverpool, but
Yeah,
Luke is sort of in the middle. So yeah, a bit of a no man's land. But
yeah.
yeah,
But that's part of Kensington though, or Kenny. There's
well,
streets of Kenny.
no, we're close. We're in between Kensington and Anfield. the posher bit is West Derby as you go further out. So most people who are from Tuebrook say they're from West Derby, but they're not.
Oh,
Tuebrook. But I've lived.
oh,
I left home at 18, and I've lived in Liverpool 6 ever since. So I'm Kensington Fairfield now, and I've been for most of my life. So yeah, that's a bit more. In fact, I don't even know whether that's north or south. Still in the middle. Still don't
in
know
the
where.
middle. Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you saw Kraftwerk with Yorkie and
Yeah,
Pete Shelley.
yeah.
Was that in Eric's?
No,
Wait,
it was in the Royal Court. I
oh,
think
the
it
Royal Court. Sorry, yeah, yeah.
must have been early 80s. It was. I just remember it being. It was the time when the Royal Court was just a brilliant venue, and you'd see, just great bands week in, week out.
Right.
Um,
And
yeah.
is it still there, or what's happened to
It's
it?
now like a theatre cabaret club, which is a shame because it was the greatest venue. You had brilliant sight lines. Um, all the bands would come to Liverpool to play the Royal Court. We did 3 nights on the run at Farmside. We sold out 3 nights on Christmas, and it was just a fantastic venue. It's a real. I mean, it's a good theatre now. They have, it's really busy, but
Yeah.
Liverpool's crying out for that kind of venue, I think.
Were you part of the Eric's music scene,
No,
or is
no,
it
way
oh,
too young. Come on,
way
Anne.
too? Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
I,
But what
yeah,
was it when you're sort of like when you're a teenager? What was your
no,
music scene like?
I'm joking. I think there was a lad in our class who used to go to the matinees, and he gave me a ticket to see Wayne Hussey. I don't know what wasn't the whatever Wayne Hussey's first band was
Was
in a
it Dead Birds? Dead Birds, wasn't it? That's the way.
I don't know. Anyway, they were playing a matinee, and this lad
Yeah,
said, "Yeah, I've got a ticket for this, or I'm going to this." And for
yeah,
some reason, I didn't go, and I really regretted it because I never went to Eric's. I went to Brady's, but I just never went to Eric's. But I was sort of too young to go. But my first band with like all my best mates, we used to rehearse in the ministry. So at like 14, I was in the next room to the Teardrops, the Bunnymen, Wah. Um, that's how I got to know Joey Musker, the legend of Joey Musker.
yeah,
Probably how I met Yorkie, probably first in the ministry. The ministry was just there was something magical about it. It stunk of dope and damp. It was, I mean, for us 14-year-olds, we were music fans, so we were rehearsing next to the bands who we just bought the single, in the afternoon. It was magical.
yeah,
We'd literally save up our pocket money and rehearse once every 2 weeks. And then in the school holidays, I used to hang around the office. There was a Scottish girl there, Pam, and there was Billy who ran it, who was brilliant, and Sue and Mike. It was just a great place. They were really supportive. We were just little scallies basically, um, and we just hang around in
yeah,
the
yeah.
office. And I remember I was sitting there in there one morning, and the phone went, and Pam said it was for Wiley. Would I go and tell him? So I went and told him in the rehearsal room, and he came in, and it was the phone call offering him the Clash support in Paris. And I've never seen anyone so happy. And so, like, I've known Wiley since then. I've known Joey Musker.
Yeah,
Joey
yeah,
Musker he was just his force of nature. He took me under his wings. I was on the ferry at the start of the drum marathon, and so you just mixed with all these bands, and we were like, I remember once we were rehearsing, and we only used to play little gigs. We used to play the Harrington, which is a legendary club. I think we were the only band that ever played the Harrington. And we used to play.
where's that? Where was that?
Harrington is Harrington Street, just opposite Matthew Street. And we do
Oh,
our own songs and like covers of Iggy Pop and stuff. Um, and where was it going? Oh, so yeah, we'd be rehearsing, and then one day you'd break and go and have a cup of tea, or you go next door in the Yates for a drink. And I came back, and our bass player was talking to Julian Cope. And Julian Cope went into our room, and I went into the Teardrops room, and I was jamming with Troy Tate it was then, and whoever the bass player was. And Cope was in our room jamming
Yeah.
with the rest of our band, and we were like 15.
Oh
But
my God.
the sound, and McCulloch always used. I mean, McCulloch would always stop and talk. While he was brilliant, and it was just, there's sort of Liverpool is very competitive, but there is a supportive element there as well, especially for established bands, for younger bands. I think
Yeah.
it's especially that generation of bands. They all hated each other. They're all, all the stuff that goes on there. But they were always great to the younger bands coming up, and I'd like to think the Farm always were as well with bands. So, but I know
Yeah.
Gaz Whelan always says that Liverpool is far more supportive than
In
Manchester.
Manchester.
Yeah. Never my experience of it really, but I sort of get what he says.
Yeah, but have you always been into, or what got you into drumming?
Uh, what got me into drumming was
Yeah.
getting out of lessons at school. I had no interest in music. I sort of like music. Like my mum had a big record collection. She was into Roy Orbison and Ray Charles and all that. So I had a good grounding in music in our house. But I was at school and I found out that the school band used to be able to miss lessons
Oh,
and go in the band room uh,
yeah.
at break time. So I thought I like the sound of that. So I took the French horn for about a week. Couldn't be bothered carrying that round, and like you just get called a weirdo carrying a French horn round.
Yeah.
So I just thought, what can I do where I don't have to carry something home? So the drums were available. So what was even better with the drums, there was a little drum room where you could go and sag. So I'd say to the teacher, "Oh, we got band practice," and I'd just go and sit in this little room with a kit and play. It was brilliant. I mean, I sort of started in the top class and ended up in the bottom class, and that was because I was pissing around and
Playing the drums.
playing the drums. So I was in the school band, which was always seen as a bit of a suckhole. But the sort of lads that I hung around with all sort of knew I just had an angle. I wasn't sort of. But I
Yeah.
mean, that was a great education. The band was great. At 12 and 13, I was playing in a big band, like a big concert orchestra, which was great as well. So it sort of started off as a dodge, but then I got into it, and I had a good time doing that.
So did you actually have drumming lessons, or apart from the school,
I did
band?
eventually. I think, I was trying to think of this the other day. So I think I had a drum lesson with Red Carter, the legend who everyone talks about.
Yeah.
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 So I had not many with him, and I think there was a music teacher. So I could read drum music, but then later on, I left school at 15, did a load of shite jobs, really bad jobs for 2 years, mad jobs as well. And then I got on a music course in, what's it called? It's a venue now on Renshaw Street. So I did a year's music course there, which was great because, like, it was a bit mad because we were fixing violins and building a recording studio. So, like, we were the first lot in there. So there was people like Craig Giles. I used to sit with Craig Giles fixing violins, which was a bit mad. And then other lads in bands, a couple of lads who I got in a band with. And then later on, there was, what's his name, Barry, was in the Lars.
Oh, right, Barry Sutton.
Barry Sutton, his first
Yeah.
band, recorded in the studio that we built. Because I remember his first song was Pensioner Dies in Blaze. I'll never forget that. And we actually physically built a studio in this basement. I think there was 8 of us. And so once I'd done that for a year, which was because, like, I'd left school at 15, started as a ladies' hairdresser for a laugh, literally just to make me make laugh. Was absolutely shite at it. Hoped I'd cop off with girls, but I was 15 and all the 16-year-old girls were going out with 23-year-old fellas with cars. So that was a waste of time. Then I was an electrician's labourer, which was like Victorian like conditions. I used to crawl under floorboards to push wires up, or crawl into lofts to push wires down. It was horrible. And then I spent a bit of time working in a clothes shop, which I think I spent 2 weeks ripping up cardboard boxes in a cellar.
Oh, God, yeah.
So,
Well,
I did all
interesting
these
job.
nice jobs, and then I realised I wanted to do music. I was still playing in bands and stuff, and then I did a 3-year course at Mabel Fletcher, which changed everything really. I mean, more for the people I met, people like Steve Powell. So I was this time 18, 19. People like Steve Powell, Roddy Gilliard, who was in a band called The Windows, who I loved, with this experimental band on Skeleton called The Windows. They were brilliant. And Steve Powell. So I used to play with all these type of players who were way, way beyond me. I mean, I was just a 4/4 cabaret drummer, but I was playing, like, Steve Powell's one of the best guitarists I've ever played with.
Yeah.
He's known more for his like for his engineering and his producing, but what a guitar player that man is. And Roddy Gilliard, who then I went into a cabaret band. It was a Frank Zappa covers band called the Munchies, and that's where I learned to play the drums. So I did 3 years at Mabel Fletcher, but then I got into this band, which is where I really learned me stuff, because we were playing cabaret clubs, we were playing pubs, and we had 2 sets. We had a cabaret set, and we had a Frank Zappa, Pink Floyd type of set. And we used to play all the venues. There was a band at the time called Ground Pig, who became Groundhog, who became Ground Pig, and we'd play on the same circuit as them. So we'd play to all these potheads all around the city, and anywhere where you could smoke a draw, we would play, and we'd be playing all this Zappa stuff. And they turned into the Muffin Men. Have you heard of the Muffin Men?
No, I'm afraid not.
Frank Zappa tribute band. So that was where I learned to play the drums. We literally played 8 gigs a week. We played every night and twice on a Saturday, and that was my education really. So
the music is very different from the farm then.
Yeah. And so, to answer your question, when I was at Mabel Fletcher, I had a year of lessons with Red Carter.
I found out about Red Carter from Jim Sharrock, because Jim Sharrock said that it must be like every drummer in Liverpool has gone on, so learn something.
He was a lovely man. He was like, I mean, because my mum was really into music. She was into big bands and that when she was young. So she used to go and watch him on the Grafton, and he had his own big band, and he was like a bit of a local star. So when I started getting lessons, I mean, it was only like 15 minutes once a week often, and it was basically rudiments and a bit of reading. So when she found out I was getting lessons off Red Carter, she was made up, because it was like, it was a star.
Oh, you mentioned Joe Strummer or the Clash. Joe Strummer's, it would have been 70th birthday today. So, just seen it on Facebook. But anyway, so in after doing all this, so like the cabaret things, so you joined the Farm in 1987. Was that your first, what would we say, rock and roll or pop band, or was that?
No, because as a first band, we did all original songs with a couple of covers. So I'd always done that, but then before the Munchies, I'd been in a couple of shite cabaret bands, and then I was in the Munchies for a couple of years. Then I was in like Liverpool, everyone's in everyone's band for a bit. So I used to love JoJo and the Real People. And when they split up, me, a lad called Ali Tremarco, and Chris, and was it both of them? We started a band that at one point he wanted to stop using JoJo and the Real People. So I think we were the Real People, but we didn't do any gigs. We just did loads of rehearsing. and then that drifted apart, and then he started the Real People because
Oh, so you were a
so
member
it
of the
was me, Tony, and Ali.
yeah,
Chris wasn't in the band, but he was hanging around and he was writing his own stuff. I think Chris was probably about 13 or something, but he was like, really good. So it was that kind of thing where, you're all in a band for a week and then you move on. So we
yeah,
never really gigged, which is a shame because I think Chris and Tony are so talented. They really are. I mean, there's a thing about Liverpool that, we've got so many great bands and we've had so many successful bands, but some of the best bands never got to the level they deserved. And one of them were the Real People. There's a cassette I've got somewhere which was demos of the Real People, and it's phenomenal. I don't think they even do many of the songs anymore. And the other one was Cook the Books. So I used to go and watch Cook the
oh my
Books.
god, yeah, I love
They
cooking.
play every night, and I'd go and see them. And
Yeah,
I mean, whenever I see Diggsy, I'll say like one of the best pieces of live music I've ever seen. Going back to Joey Musker, Joey always used to set these things up. He had this thing of a Tuesday night in a nightclub in Liverpool, and what he would do is he got them to lay on a buffy, and it was like some real naff like club in Liverpool. I don't know whether it was Uglies or one of them, some real terrible nightclub, and
yeah,
he'd lay on a buffy and he'd put a band on. And one night he had Cook the Books, and they were only a three-piece then. I think there was Leggy, who was a great drummer, Owen, and I
yeah,
don't think the keyboard players were with them, Tony, was it? And they did Living for the City, the Stevie Wonder song.
yeah.
And to this day, I can remember being physically blown away by it. It was just one of the most ferocious, best performances I've ever seen. I put it in my top 10 of live songs I've ever seen. And
I love,
they to me should have been the number one album band.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
that's Owen.
I wanted to ask you this. What do you think? What is it about Liverpool? I mean, Manchester as well, but what is it about Liverpool that produces all these amazing musicians? They're just incredible. I mean, not just in the 70s or 80s. Like, of
Uh,
course, we know a lot of the 80s bands from Liverpool, but even up to now. I mean, even so, like the musicians from the 80s are coming up with all these amazing, like Mick Head, for example. He's got like an album in the charts in the UK charts. What is it about Liverpool?
I don't know. I'm always hesitant to mythologize about the place. I mean, I love it. I've lived there all my life. I don't know. I think Manchester and Liverpool are so similar.
Yeah,
I don't. Other than football, I don't get the Manchester Liverpool rivalry. Don't like it. Um, we always got on better with the Manchester bands or as good as the Liverpool bands. So I don't get that. But yeah, Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow, they're all sort of similar. I think I think it's not why are all those cities so good. I think it's why is Birmingham so bad. Sorry, Brummies, but you know, Sheffield is another brilliant city, but it's. I mean, Birmingham's had some great music, but not to the level of Manchester and Liverpool. I mean, Manchester sort of overtook Liverpool in the 80s, didn't it? You look at the music that's come out of there. Sorry, in the 90s. I don't know. Who knows? It's a port city, Liverpool, so that gives it an edge. I think that's a factor. Um, don't know. Let's don't question it. Just enjoy it.
yeah. I've always thought like fascinated about. I mean, I chose to live in Manchester because of the Smiths and the Stone
Yeah.
Roses. But if I had to sort of like go somewhere else, I'd go to Liverpool or Glasgow, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
Glasgow as well. But yeah, so let's talk about the farm
Okay.
because um, I still vividly remember when I saw the video for All Together Now, when I was living in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, and I saw it on Channel V because there's MTV in America, but in Asia we have this music television channel 24/7 called
Yeah.
Channel V, and I remember seeing it, and I just thought, first of all, the song itself is so catchy. I just loved it. I used to sort of like wait for it to be shown.
Yeah.
on the telly all the time. And then, but the video is just so amazing. Like
Yeah.
there's people going into the mud and then coming back up again, and I think it was used as sort of like a teaser for a segment on Channel V as well. So yeah,
So yeah, so that actually there are two videos. I'll come on to how I joined the farm in a minute, but those two videos, the mud one was that was for America. That was the American video, and because the British video was basically we were all knackered. We'd been touring for a year, and we didn't want to do a big video. We just wanted to go and sit in a pub. So I think it was Peter's idea. We got all our families into a pub in
oh yeah,
central London, and so the video for that is just us all getting drunk with our families playing pool. I think Kevin turns up dressed as a pixie, and we just had a great day in a pub. So when Sai wanted to release it into America, they wanted another one. So they got Aid Edmondson, who is from the Young Ones.
yeah, the young ones, yeah.
Yeah, so he directed that, and he came up with this idea that he wanted to do a big Scrabble board, and so we filmed on the Scrabble board, and then everybody had to jump into the mud, and Keith Allen turned up because he was Aid Edmondson's mate and he liked the farm, and we sort of knew him through the Mondays, and he turned up, took all his clothes off, and jumped in. But that mud was fertilizer and water, and Peter was ill for about a month because he got an infection off the.
Oh
I don't think I went in. I think I got out a bit. But we always used to have a ball doing videos. But for that one, we did two. We did two for Groovy Train as well. So why did I join? How did I join the farm? So the Munchies had finished, and I was actually then playing in a Bobby Womack tribute band, which was completely different from Zappa, with a great singer called Steve Jones, who sadly isn't with us. And we used to play places like Rudy's and all the clubs around Liverpool, playing Bobby Womack and sort of soul R&B stuff, which was a great education again. So I was playing that. I was also teaching drums because I'd left. I'd done 3 years at Mabel Fletcher, and then there's a place called Concert Square in Liverpool, and there was a building called Holmes Buildings, and I was looking for somewhere to teach drums because obviously I was in a flat and it was too loud. So I found this place, and what it was, do you know the sweet Swizzles? They're like a little sweet. Anyway, where they used to make
Swizzles. Yeah, Swizzles.
Where they used to make
the
sweets was called a sweet factory. And
okay.
where they used to keep the raw ingredients was a massive, big cold storage unit, was a big fridge. So I used to hire that as an office, and I used to teach drums for about 2 years. So I was in there, and the first two people who moved into that building, at that point, there was nothing on Wood Street other than the Swan. There was nothing around there at all. No pubs, no clubs, no restaurants. It was like really derelict, basically. There was the Marlborough and the Swan, and then nothing else. Mantona Tea Factory. And the first two people in that building were me and a photographer called Sol, who is now my business partner in Hurricane Films, and who took the early photographs of the farm for all the album covers. So we were in there, I was teaching drums, and then one day the buzzer went, and it was Peter and Keith. Said, I had Peter from the farm. Somebody's give us your address. Can we come and have a talk to you? And I said, I'm actually busy at the moment. Can you come back? So they went away, and Peter said, we were like that, he can fuck off. We're not going back there. But anyway, they went and had a cup of tea in the cafe downstairs, and they came back. And it turned out that my mum and Peter's dad both worked in English Electric on East Lancs. And also Pete Wiley's dad as well. They all knew each other, which is coincidental. And my mum used to bring the end home for me. She said, oh, this fella I know in work, his lad does this. This is the kind of stuff you like, isn't it? And I think I got a tape of I had like a tape of the farm as well that somebody had given me. So I knew all about them. I read the end. So I knew they were, and said, yeah, love to be. And it was Joey Musker. Sadly, the drummer died, Andy McVan, who was like the original drummer, great drummer, really, legendary lad. And they were looking for another drummer, and they asked Joe, because he used to play percussion for them, timbales and stuff, along with Andy.
Yeah.
And he recommended me. And they also asked Bob Curry from Come in Tokyo, um, and
Oh,
both of them suggested me. So I went along. We played in
okay.
the ministry, and then I joined. And I just joined as they just finished their House Martins tour. They said they had a record deal, a publishing deal,
Wow.
and they were
Yeah.
about to go on tour in America with the House Martins. Um, but none of that happened. There was no the record deal fell through, the publishing deal fell through, and the House Martins split up. So, um, but I loved the stuff, and the lads are great.
Yeah.
So for 2 or 3 years, we just played, you know, every left wing benefit tour concert there was. Used to play. Used to be really popular in Leeds. I remember Gaz saying that the Mondays are always more popular in Leeds and London than they were in Manchester, and we were more popular in Leeds than we were in Liverpool. And Yorkshire and Leeds really loved the farm. It was bizarre. Um, and so we just had a great time. We were playing all the time, doing these great gigs, and we worked really hard. And uh,
Yeah.
we set up our own record label. And I would say that there's an odd thing about the farm. We're sort of outsiders. We're not sort of part of the Liverpool music thing. We were always seen as outsiders. We were always, I don't know, never.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's always got on well with everyone, but we were always a bit. I don't know. We weren't quite part of that thing that went on at the time. Uh,
Yeah.
there was always rivalry between all the bands, but we sort of just got off and did our own thing, and we always got on well with the bands, but just I don't know. We were just never, even within music, we're always a little bit out the way. And
Yeah.
what sort of happened was the rise of Produce Records is just a phenomenal story, but it never really got the attention it deserved. So there were four lads in an office who'd never worked in the music industry, set up this label, released 2 singles and an album that got to #1, and it was it's a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
And it was after years of obscurity, suddenly at the right time, we just suddenly became popular. And music journalists suddenly, after dismissing the band as casual, as scallies, suddenly that was coming in, and then they were suddenly interested. And
Yeah.
never any interest in the music business in football. Now, obviously, Peter did the end, which was the thing that everybody knew the farm about, because John Peel loved the end, he loved the farm. So we had that sort of notoriety, but all of a sudden, always being sort of, on the outer limits, suddenly we were banging.
Yeah.
And I think there's a statistic in 1991 we had more front covers than Madonna. We were we were just everywhere, but all this popularity, and we were we had #1 album,
Yeah.
loaded tennis,
I was
and
gonna say that Spartacus, when it was released in 1991, that was like
yeah,
the #1, wasn't
it
it?
was #1 all over the world, and it was massive. And
Yeah.
then the next album sold 10 copies, so it was like, and it was a brilliant album as well. We were really heralded by the music press, and then they turned on us. It's a classic English thing. Doesn't happen so much now. They're much more supportive, well, because there's no music.
Yeah.
But I think bands have longer careers now, which is great. But then you were the flavour of the month, and then everyone hated you, and you were dropped. And so we had
Oh,
a real period of absolute massive success worldwide, and then we just sort of faded away. And for about 2 years, we were still doing tours. Did a couple of big tours of America. Didn't really tour Europe as much as we should have. Never went to Japan. Never went to the Far East, which is a big regret because we were that concentrated on recording new material or
Mm,
trying to court the British music press. And what we should have done after
smart.
Sparta, we just
Yeah.
toured for 2 years. We should have just seen the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
We wouldn't have suffered any more than we did because the next album, which was a great album, Love See No Colour, I think is a great album.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
didn't nobody was interested. So, and then the one after that, Hullabaloo, was a great album, great songs. Listen back, Steve and Steve and Peter are great songwriters, and we just, that was the end of it. But for that 18 months, 2 years, we just had the time of our lives. Really had a ball.
Yeah. Well, there's a connection between you and Happy Mondays because
Mm-hmm.
you always sort of like seem to be like they're your peers. They're like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
almost like with Happy Mondays are there, and then the farm will go be there. I mean,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
but
Well,
another one is connection with Suggs as well.
yeah.
That
So
connection.
yeah, Suggs. I mean, the farm really had lots of support from Suggs and Madness.
Yeah.
The demos early on. I think UB40 gave them some support as well. So early on, before I joined, and then Suggs produced a couple of demos. Then he produced Family and Man. Um, what did we do then? Stepping Stone. All together now, which Suggs. It was credited as Terry Farley, Pete Eller, as well as Suggs, but actually Suggs for Groovy Train and All Together Now, it was Suggs. It was Steve's idea to use Pachelbel's canon in D major. So that's a famous piece of music that loads of bands have used, but we
Yeah.
were the first to use it. I think Brian Eno used it on an ambient album, and then we used it. And then the Pet Shop Boys, Oasis, everybody's used that now since, but we were the first to have a pop hit with it. And so it was Steve's idea to put a breakbeat behind it. But see Suggs in the studio, he just doesn't get the credit he deserves as a producer because he's the singer in Madness and Groovy
Yeah.
Train as well. I mean, what a great song Groovy Train is, and really unusual. You listen to it now, and it's the chorus doesn't come in for about 4 minutes, and that was Suggs. So he did the first 2 albums, Suggs, and he was just he was great to work with. Really was.
Yeah. Well, the first time I actually saw the farm live, because I know that you never really split up, but by the time I moved to Manchester in 1996, I think the farm were already sort of like not doing very much. Is that right? Or
Yeah, typical farm. We just couldn't be bothered breaking up. So it was really odd because the first album sold so well. Second one didn't sell at all, but we were still signed to Sire, and in effect, we were an American band because we had a Sony deal. The deal that Sony did with Produce, a licensing deal, was the template that Alan McGee and lots of others used for Oasis and for subsequent bands. So we had our own mini label that was licensed to a big company, Sony.
yeah, yeah,
And looking back, I think that was a mistake. We should have stayed with Spartacus, but we were offered a big deal, and we moved on. But so Sony dropped us, and then we still had a Sire deal in America. So we did a tour with Big Audio Dynamite, which is brilliant. We did a
yeah,
couple of our own American tours. Then we did a big tour co-headlining with Big Audio Dynamite, which is insane when you think about it. And they were sort of, I think they just had an album out, but ours was bigger. But we went on first. But basically, it was a joint headline. We had a great time there. So we were doing really well in America. And then we went back when we did Hullabaloo. We did a 6-week tour, and I'd say that was the best the farm ever played because because of all the sort of dance stuff we use a lot of sequence stuff. I play to loops and percussion loops, which I love doing. I really enjoy it. But
Yeah.
that tour we just did a no technology tour, and we used to play acoustic gigs of the day and full gigs of the night. We worked really hard, and we did, and it was starting to show. The singles were doing well in the Billboard contemporary chart, and we just had a great time on that tour. But then when we came to the end of it, we started demoing again, and I think we had the choice. We could have moved to America and made a real go of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just we were all had enough. We'd all started having kids. We'd all bought houses. Staying away for so long was getting a bit hard. We were all doing other stuff, and we did the last lot of demos we did were really good songs. As I say, Peter and Steve are great songwriters, and we were doing these like poppy rock stuff
Yeah.
that was really good. A lot more dancey and electro than we'd done, and we just sort of faded away. I mean, at this point, Steve was doing like dance music. Um, Carl had started making documentaries, I think, by at that point, and then I'd started writing. So I'd got a job writing for Brookside, and then
Yeah.
Peter and Keith went off and um, did a band, and so we never actually split up. There was never a point where we said that's it. It was,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, I still went to the match with Peter every week and played footy with him. I used to see Carl all the time, and it's just we never actually split up. And I think I probably went. I think we didn't do a gig for 9 years. The last gig we did was my stag night in Dublin. So a way for me to have a subsidised stag night was we played a gig in Dublin,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was my stag night, and that was the last time we all played. And I literally didn't pick up a drumstick for 9 years. Never played. Oh, actually, I did. Sorry. So around that time, I was also playing with Pete Wiley. So
Okay.
me,
Yeah.
Keith out the farm, and a couple of bass players were playing with Pete, and we were doing demos and we were doing gigs, and we did a live radio show at the Edinburgh Festival. So it was a play with music, and we were the live music. So I was playing with Wiley. We did a couple of supports for the Go Go's. What's the name? Guitarist in the Go Go's.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jane Woman.
Jane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jane
So
Woman.
did a
Yeah.
couple of support with her. We did the demos for the Songs of Strength and Heartbreak album. Um, but
You did a you did a sort of like cover of Sinful, or
yeah,
Big Wally
that was
released
earlier. That was with
Sinful.
the
Yeah.
farm. Yeah. We re-recorded "Sinful" in the Roundhouse and released that as a single. Yeah, but this was about 2 years later. So the farm had finished. I was
Right.
playing with Wiley, but I was also starting to write for Brookside, and then I was just full time writing. So I just stopped playing, and I'd sort of always regret that we did the demos for the Wiley album with Arthur Baker in Pink
Oh,
Pink
wow.
Park Lane. So I did all the demos of Half as Big as Liverpool and that album, which I think is a phenomenal album. And by the time he came to record them, he was recording them in like um, in America. He got picked up,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it. And
You got Mike Joyce to do it. It was like
yeah,
Mike
I
Joyce
went
doing
out
drums
for a
on
couple of
the
nights with Mike and Andy and Wiley, and
Yeah.
I should have done Heart as Big as Liverpool. I should have played on that, but I was just by that time I was a writer and I wasn't playing, so I
Yeah.
sort of regret that. But it was great playing with Wiley. You know, we did some really good gigs. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so for 9 years, I didn't pick up a drumstick.
Oh, well, Gilbert, who's watching from Manila, he said it's too bad that you didn't tour a lot during, especially in Far East, like going to
Yeah, yeah,
Manila. Yeah. So thank you for joining us, Gilbert. So I was telling you earlier, the first time I saw the farm was in 2015. But
Yeah,
you weren't there though. It was only Peter Hoot and Steve Grimes and Keith Mullen, and it's the
yeah,
Music Beats Austerity event with um, Billy Bragg. I
yeah,
remember Billy Bragg was the headliner, and that gig actually was very so like memorable to me because I remember standing next to a couple, an American couple, and because I was getting so excited about the farm coming on stage, and this couple was sort of like saying, "Who are they?" And it was like, "What do you mean who are they?" I was really shocked that they didn't know, but fair enough though. They were there for Billy Bragg, but I
yeah,
actually bought the ticket for the farm. I wanted to see the farm.
yeah. So they go out as an acoustic lineup. So
Yeah,
with my day job with films, it takes me away. I can be away for months, abroad for months. So there were gigs that I couldn't do. So they started doing this acoustic thing, which is really good. I've seen them do it.
yeah,
So it means that if I'm not available, they can do that. And there's been a couple of gigs. The drummer from the Verve has stood in for me when I couldn't play. And like when we were doing Carl's film, we've got a standing bass player and a standing guitarist called Gary Hart. So we're fairly flexible. We can change shape, but
and get somebody
the
else to
acoustic thing is
play.
really good.
Yeah, I remember that was the first time I actually met Peter Hooton. He's so lovely. He's very funny as well because it's sort of like I asked him to sign a copy of this, which is the Peace Collective
Oh
book
yeah,
now, and because I really wanted it to be Christmas number one. Oh,
hmm
was it 2014? But it never happened. But anyways, when he saw it. When I asked him to like sign it for me, and he saw it, it's like, oh, so you're the person who bought the only copy of it, and I was like, and I thought it was so funny and everything. But yeah, that was really good. And then I think the second time I saw you was at Macclesfield, and that's the second time I saw the farm, and that's with the full band, the
yeah.
Macclesfield Festival.
Was that in
And
like a rugby ground or something?
yeah, yeah, 2017.
Dodgy as well. Yeah, I remember that. That was a strange old gig.
Yeah, because you weren't supposed to be so like the headliners. I think it
Yeah,
was brand new heavies were supposed to be the headliners, but
yeah,
then it turned out you
yeah,
were the main ones,
yeah,
which is really good.
yeah.
So yeah, and then of course, I mean, Shine On. I always thought like whenever I think of Shine On, there's only one band that should be there every single year, and that's the Farm.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a good laugh shine on. We did it. I think we've done like six on the run. We're not doing it this year, I don't think.
Yeah,
But
it's a shame that.
this side of COVID, we did like six on the run. But um, I think we were talking before. Last year was good. We had a good one last year, but the year before that, somebody in the wisdom decided that we should be the closing act for the last night party, and it was just chaos. I mean, you don't put the farm on at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's just
That,
wrong.
that was in 2019. It was
It's
like,
hard enough for us to stay sober for 7 o'clock, but it was like playing the land of the living dead. People have been on the ale for 3 days, and we got a good crowd, and we went down really well. But I remember it being chaotic, and you reminded me before that
yeah,
uh, Matthew from
Matthew
watching.
Priest sort of like came
Yeah,
on stage and started playing with you.
I think he was watching from the side, and I was throwing sticks at him. One of them nights. Yeah, so yeah, Shine On's always end up with a 3 day hangover, so it sort of taints it a bit. But it's usually a good laugh. See some good bands as well.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
shame that you're not playing this year, but
yeah,
oh well, hopefully next year. But there's another memorable The Farm gig that I went to, and that was in the Warrington Music Festival. This was in 2018. Because
yeah,
the reason why I find it memorable is you were desperate for a gum.
yeah,
Because do you remember that? You were
yeah,
desperate
yeah.
for a gum and
I
you
can't
forgot.
believe it. I'm Chewy, and I always forget to take some.
And I think Peter Houghton said something. Has anyone got like chewing gum or something?
Yeah,
And then I think you got loads of people just
yeah,
threw chewing gum on the stage. And I thought, oh, that's so.
Yeah. The other thing I remember about that gig, Liverpool were playing Newcastle, and we were in with a chance of the league, and we had to beat Newcastle. And I had the match on my floor, Tom. I was watching the match as we were playing.
Were
So
you?
yeah. Telling, yeah, we drew, so it wasn't great. But I was telling Peter the score and what was happening. But
Oh my God.
I had
Well,
sports on my phone on my floor, Tom.
I didn't like notice anything like that happening at all. But I think it was Happy Mondays who were headlining that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Because I remember not staying for it because it started to rain. I think, and I thought, well, I better just sort of like head back.
Probably over the years, I think we probably played with the Mondays more than anyone. Going right back, the Pickets before either band was successful, played together in Manchester with them. And then some of the biggest gigs, obviously, we played Ellen Road, which was a great day. We played the Failer Festival, which is the maddest gig we've ever done. The band actually had to be carried. The only one who could stand up was Peter, and he was heroic that night. He managed to. I think he sang. He sang an Irish song, so we could all sober up.
Oh,
And that was the night that the Mondays told us off afterwards for being out of control, which takes a bit of
out of control from a Happy Monday.
yeah. Keith wrecked one of their amps.
Oh God.
Stupid behaviour, but Gaz, who I know you've had on, he was a great lad.
Yeah.
He actually used to come on tour with us when they weren't playing. He used to come on tour with us because he said he liked the atmosphere and it was a better laugh with the farm. So he'd like loads of photographs of him in our dressing room and everything. So we used to hang around with. He was big mates with Wiley. I think he still is. So great lad, Gaz. Told me the other week. It was good to see him.
Yeah. He lives in Canada now, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. I arranged to meet him in Toronto a couple of years ago, but he's quite far out. We just couldn't get it to work. But as I say, we play with him most summer, so I get to catch up with him then.
Yeah. Well, Dave Nash just said all together now. Thanks for watching us live as well, Dave Nash. But before I ask you about your other career, I know it's nearly 3:00, but can you tell us something about the Justice Tonight band that you and Peter?
Oh yeah, I'd say that was probably the best thing we've ever done. It was just phenomenal. So obviously, it was to raise at the time. It was a time when Hillsborough had sort of left the news. The campaign was going nowhere. There was a real struggle. And me and Peter were at Hillsborough, so it was personal for us. And the first gig we did was we did the Olympia, and it was a joint Hillsborough, Don't Buy the Sun, and it was benefiting a couple of things. And Mick had such a great time because obviously we'd done the BAD tour of America, joint tour. Mick used to come and play with us that run we did at the Royal Court. Mick turned up for the first gig and said, "I've written a song for you. Do you want to play it?" And we actually did it on the third album. It's been a long time. A brilliant song. Peter changed the lyrics because we couldn't really sing about it ourselves, but we did that song that Mick had written. So we'd always stayed in touch. And he had such a great time at the Justice Tonight that he said, "Right, okay, let's tour it." And it was just a great time. So we'd come on, we'd do a Wiley set. We'd do a farm set. Wiley would come on, we'd do a Wah set, and then Mick would come on and we'd do a Clash set. So we were playing Clash songs before for the first time since the Clash. Mick had never sang these songs live. And the first tour we played Manchester, Sheffield, Liverpool, Glasgow, Manchester. Ian and what's his name, John Squire, got up and sang a song. So that was the first time they'd sang together in 10 years. They got up unannounced and did is it Lizard for My Dear? Don't know.
Yeah. Elizabeth, My Dear.
Yeah. So they did that, which again didn't really get a lot of attention, but then they got up and played, and then every gig people would get up. Ian got up and sang that night, Um, Sheffield, Richard Hawley got up with us. John got up with us from what they called great Sheffield band. Anyway, we ended up in his nightclub afterwards. Cast played with us in Liverpool. We just every night, we were getting these great guests, and singer out of the Manics got up with us in Cardiff. It was just a great tour, and we played Belfast, and it just really reinvigorated the sort of it got the spotlight back on Hillsborough, and there was other stuff going on. Obviously, I'm not saying that was the catalyst for what happened, but it definitely brought the attention back, and we just had a great time. And so those gigs went so well that the Stone Roses invited us to play their European tour. So we did Dublin, Milan, and somewhere else, Manchester.
Wow.
And we had we had guest singers up for that as well. We played Eaton Park to 50,000 or something. So it was just a great time. It was just again we weren't we weren't using any technology, so it was all live, all the Clash stuff, playing the War stuff, which I'm obviously a big War fan. Better Scream, one of my favourite songs. So it was just a dream come true. And we had Eric Cantona got up with us, and we played Neen. Eric Cantona got up and sang "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" I'd never really been a massive fan of the Stone Roses. I appreciated them. To me, the Mondays are the band. The Mondays change things. They change music for me. And so I'm a massive Happy Mondays fan. And I sort of appreciated the Roses. And by the time we'd come along, they'd sort of stopped. And I'd seen them and thought they were good. But watching them night after night, you sort of, their drummer, I'd say, is one of the best drummers I've ever seen.
Oh, Rennie's amazing.
I watched him and I couldn't understand how he was making that sound. He was like just this fluid, just unbelievable.
He's like a machine, isn't he?
Yeah, pure groove, but technical playing as well. And I used to stand at the side of the stage and just watch him play, and it was great. So it was good to play with them. We mixed with them. They were sound. Obviously, we knew Manny anyway, but yeah, that was probably my favourite ever tour. We had such a great time, and there was talk about going to America with it. The guitarist out of some big American guitarist suggested to Mick that we should go and play, and he would play with us. So we got heavy rock bands, can't remember. Mike Moreno, Tom Moreno, is it?
Oh.
Tom Moreno.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tom Moreno's massive.
Oh, Tom Morello. Is it Tom Morello?
Yeah. He invited us to play with him, and we were going to play, but it all sort of fell apart, and it
didn't happen then.
No, it didn't happen. But looking back, it was just some of the best performances. We were playing well. We were enjoying it. Playing your heroes' music, playing Clash songs with Mick Jones. It was just unbelievable. Paul Simonon got up with us one gig, and it was just phenomenal.
Well, Peter Lawney from Atlanta, he said hello from Atlanta.
Hello.
I'm sure you know him as well. Yeah, he mentioned the legendary fanzine called The End, which I sold. So he sold loads of copies of it.
Yeah.
At Penny Lane Records. So hello Peter from Atlanta.
The End was phenomenal. It just catalogued a time. It was just so far ahead of its time in cataloguing a culture that became baggy, became Manchester, became, in a way, it sort of came Britpop, because when we were starting out, bands talking about football and bands wearing trainees just wasn't done. Everyone was wearing winkle pickers, so we were turning up as trainees, and we were just seen as, we were sort of derided as ways. I mean, you look, God bless him. Look at Ian Brown. He was a goth 6 months before the Stone Roses were popular. And
Well, you mentioned winkle pickers, because every time I hear that word, I keep thinking of Andy McCluskey, because I think Andy McCluskey used to wear those. So.
Probably still does,
He still does. But I'm going to ask you because I don't want to like keep you a long time, but I wanted to ask you also about your other job, not just the drummer job, but the other one, being a film uh, producer and screenwriter.
Yeah,
And Aiden said that he said that I see Roy Cook produced Off Time and The City,
yeah,
and he said that it's one of his favorite documentaries and it's a
yeah,
masterpiece.
yeah. Very proud of that one.
Yeah,
It just it happened. I'd always wanted to write, and then when the Farmer at their height, I had no interest in writing songs. You know, as soon as the drummer starts writing songs, you know you're in trouble. Let the songwriters do it. So they were off writing songs. We were in the studio, which I didn't particularly. I loved playing live. I wasn't a fan of the studio. So once I'd done my bits, I was off.
yeah,
So I had all this time, and we were getting paid. So we were on a wage, and I wasn't doing much. So I just started writing again, and I got into it. And I had a close call with a couple of things. One with a couple of close things. I did the Godmother of Liverpool Rock thing, and then I did a couple of trial scripts for Brookside. I then won a competition, a writing competition with Willie Russell. Did a weekend course with him, and then started writing for Brookside, and that was my perfect job. And that's why I didn't touch a drumstick, because I was doing something that I absolutely loved. I was a big fan of Brookside. I love writing, and for 9 years I did Brookside, and then there was a big moment where the reason I didn't do any more with Wiley was because the fellow who ran Brookside, Phil Redmond, was starting this thing called Teen Soap, and he asked me and another fella, Andy Lynch, to write the trial series for it. So I was really busy with that, and I also got asked by a household name to join his band, and I had the choice of joining this band or writing for this
right, yeah,
soap opera. And I look back and I think I must have been nuts, because Hollyoaks was great to start with, and had a good time, but that was the time where I made the decision to go that way, and so that was
yeah,
sort of the end of drumming, and I had a great time at Brookside, and then I wrote EastEnders and The Bill and all of them. And
yeah,
when Brookside finished, I didn't want to write anything else really, because I loved it so much, and I just didn't have the appetite to write for other soaps or anything. And I did a few, and I didn't really like EastEnders. So Sol, who had done the covers and who had, he did that one there, the
yeah, no,
Jeep one, Stepping Stone.
yeah,
We always stayed in touch. Our wives were friends, our kids were friends, and we set up this production company, and we started making feature films. So I moved away from telly, and we did a thing called Under the Mud, which was one of my favourite films. It was just like a community project with 16 kids from Garston. We sort of wrote it like you'd write a soap, and we got it released, went to film festivals all around the world, did the Terence Davis films of Time in the City, which was a documentary, and then 2 narrative dramas, Sunset Song, which we shot in New Zealand and Scotland, and A Quiet Passion, which we shot in America and Belgium. And we've just gone on to make, you know, we're sort of like in the age of the car, we're blacksmiths. Independent film is just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and it's becoming more and more difficult. And it's the big Marvel films that get made, more
mm,
than independent films that we do. So it's getting tougher. But we made Sometimes Always Never, which was Carl, the bass player, his directorial debut.
direct, yeah, and that's
Brilliant.
with Bill Nye as
Bill
well.
Nye, what a man! Massive music fan. In fact, I
Yeah,
was texting him yesterday. I watched the Rolling Stones documentary about Charlie Watts. Have you seen it?
I've not seen that one yet. Is that on
And he's a massive Stones fan, and
Sky Arts?
no, it might be Sky Arts, but I
Sky
watched
Arts.
it last night. It's phenomenal. What a drummer he was. So yeah, Bill's a massive music fan, and we've just we at the moment, I think it's actually released in the Philippines. Our latest film, The Last Bus, with Tim Spall, is on worldwide release now. It's just been released in New Zealand and Australia, and I'm pretty sure it's in the Philippines. So
Yeah.
yeah, but we
My
always
friend
had good
told
music.
me
We had Edwin Starr, Edwin Collins doing the music for Carl's film, and we always make sure we have good music in there.
does it help because you're a musician yourself? So is it sort of like easier to get all these other musicians so like to collaborate with you?
Yeah, maybe. In some ways, the Edwin Collins thing, we had the
Yeah,
connection because we knew him. So yeah, um, we've got a couple of projects that have got musicians on that I can't really talk about, but they're doing the score for a couple of films we've got. Hopefully coming, hopefully will get financed. Sort of, not really. It's such a weird world, the film business. It's independent film is like the Wild West, whereas the music business now is like a grown-up industry. Film is still nuts, to be honest.
um, did you win or was it did you win a BAFTA? Apparently, it was like when I was
We
sort of like googling you, yeah, you won a
Yeah,
BAFTA.
we've won a couple of BAFTAs. Been nominated for Of Time in the City. We were nominated for new producer, and Steve McQueen won it, and he's gone on to do loads of stuff. So yeah, we won and been nominated a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not actually seen The Street, but is that one of those? Is it a soap opera as
No,
well?
no.
'Cause I heard the one
The
that,
Street is Jimmy McGovern, legendary writer, and I did one of the first series. So what he does is he he has these anthology series, and each episode is slightly linked to the next one. And you write the episode, and he sort of does the art. So yeah,
yeah,
that won a BAFTA. Yeah, I won a BAFTA for that. Yeah.
that's amazing. You know, it's really really good because you also did you wrote for EastEnders because when I came here in 1996, that's actually the only British soap that I got into.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was like I think you wrote for them in 2011, which is like
yeah,
by that time I've already gone off.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'd never watched it, and they actually approached me, which was unusual. And I did three, and the best thing about it was I got to meet David Essex, who I think is one of the unsung heroes of British music. I think
yeah,
he's
yeah,
sort of written off as a teeny bopper, but some of his albums are like really dark. He had great singles, but
yeah.
so I
I
told
love,
him I wrote a couple of episodes with him in it, and I told him how much I liked his music.
yeah. I mean, the one I like is Rock On. He did Rock On,
Oh,
didn't he?
rock on, yeah, yeah. Lamplight, loads of
That's
them. And that'll be the
amazing.
day. I think is probably one of the best music films ever. That'll be the day in Stardust. Brilliant. I mean,
Yeah,
most music films are shite. None of them get it right. There's a few notable ups. Good Vibrations is a great film, but most of them are terrible. But that'll be the day. It's great. Ringo is amazing in it.
yeah, yeah. So what's next in your so like producing career, or
Well,
you're going away? That's why we have to do this either now or we'll
yeah,
have to be.
Toronto. So you go to all they're called they're called film festivals, but they're not. They're business, they're market festivals where you go and meet. So we're off to Toronto for that. Next up, be nice to do Carl's follow up. Frank Ottrepoit has written another script for Carl, the bass player, to direct. Bill Nye's in it. We need to raise the money for that. There's a couple that I've written that we're looking to get made. There's one that James Corden's company are co-producing with us. I've written that about a punk grandmother. There's a few, but it's like spinning plates, and it's like you spin and spin and spin, and one will take off or one will fall off, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's mad. But we've been playing all summer as well, which has been great. We played every weekend this summer in festivals. We did a couple of gigs with Madness. We've had 2 weeks off, and then we're in Jersey next, I think. So it's great to be playing again.
Well, I saw you the last time I saw you was at Camp in Furnace in Liverpool.
This
That was
gig of the year,
amazing.
yeah.
That was really good. So you're not doing Shine On. What's next for the farm?
So Jersey, some festival in Jersey. Don't even know who's on, to be honest. And then there's the next 2 weekends after that. There's two in Yorkshire, and then we finished finished that for the summer, and then I'm off to Toronto and just getting away with it. I'm just, as long as I'm not ripping up cardboard boxes or shoving wires from under the floorboards, I'm getting away with it.
Or cutting girls' hair.
Yeah. Well, I never got as far as they wouldn't let me anywhere near scissors. Basically making tea and brushing up. No, I
Well,
didn't get
which
that
would you,
far.
which do you enjoy the most? I'm sure you love both of them, but do you enjoy drumming more than like producing films or writing scripts?
It's I would say my passion is writing, I think. If you'd asked me when I was 15, all I used to do was obsess about drums. I'd draw drums. I'd be playing on the couch and anything. And that was when I was a drum teacher, I used to hire equipment out as well, and so everything was about drums then. But I think the thing that is my passion now is script writing and producing.
Script
But
writing, yeah.
but get me on that stage and I'm having a ball. All the hanging around and sitting on tour buses and all that, I can leave. But when you're on there playing, you've got a drink and you're playing. That's great.
Yeah.
And, I go and see at least a band a week. I see a lot of live music.
Oh, that's
So
brilliant. Yeah. Do you look at the drummer and then like?
I don't sort of stare and see what they're doing. Really, I mean, you go and see bands. Most drummers are really good. So um, I went to see Gilberto Gil at the Philharmonic the other week. That was phenomenal, a Brazilian legend. And I was on the second row, so I had a great view of all the percussionists and the drummer. That was his son, the drummer. That was amazing. Who else have I seen lately? I only ever saw the Stone Roses once. That was phenomenal. Watching him play is something
I've only
else.
seen them once as well. That was way up high. I saw them
Yeah,
at the Etihad Stadium. It was like,
I was never interested, to be honest. I sort of admired them, I sort of liked them, but I never loved them. And we just went to see them because I'd never seen them, and it's the best gig I've ever seen, best band I've ever seen. And I'm not even a fan, but there's something
really
magical
good.
about them.
Yeah.
I have to see a load of bands. The next couple of weeks got Gweno coming up, and there's just loads of great live music coming to Liverpool. Although most of the time you have to go to Manchester, but
Mick Head, what about Mick Head gigs?
yeah, I've got the new album, which is good. I was going to go and see him in St Michael's the other night, but
That was
that's
Thursday.
a great venue. I went to see Steve Mason there at earlier in the year from the Beta Band.
Yeah.
It's a great venue, so I think that would have been great. All my mates go and see him everywhere. I saw him play at a family thing, and there was me and another person sitting in a bar, and he played, and it was magical. The man is just talent, isn't he? He's just
Yes.
talent. But I was sitting there thinking, all the lads I go to match with and all my mates would pay thousands to sit and listen to this. He just did an impromptu personal gig. So yeah, good luck to him. With this album does well. I presume it's doing well. He
Well,
deserves
hopefully,
his
because
acclaim.
his next Liverpool gig is at the Invisible Wind
In
Factory
fact, that's a good
in
venue.
December. Yeah. Hopefully, I'll see you there because
Yeah.
I'll always go to Mick Head.
Yeah. Tell you a good tip. Violetta Society every other month in Leith. See some great bands. So the other night there was I can't remember. There was a new band who have been playing their tracks. I can't remember the name. I'll think of it. But the three bands on, and they were all great. A fella called
Yeah.
DJ Roy is the
Oh,
host.
Roy, the poet.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he's a compare of all these.
yeah, it's great. Really, the Mossley Hillbillies were on. They were great. They were really. Who else was on? I can't remember the name of that band. But seeing new bands as well. Mixing it and seeing. It's good seeing like the old ones, but it's the emerging bands. Like I went to see Mike Clean earlier in this year. They were phenomenal.
I remember going to one last year with Studio Electrophonic doing the
Yeah, they do.
like
Yeah,
because you can't really say headliners because they don't have headliners. They just
no,
sort of like tell you who's playing.
yeah.
So,
And everyone, it's always someone interesting.
yeah, yeah, that's right. I want to say hello to Rob Jones.
Oh yeah, from Wild.
Yeah, well, he's in the high five. So, Rob Jones said, "Great band, great drummer." So, hello, Rob.
Thanks,
It's
Rob.
always nice seeing. So I've got a few, just the three more questions. First
Yeah,
is
no rush.
drumming heroes. Do you have any like drumming heroes?
Yeah, Ringo, obviously. We met him once, which was interesting at the 2008 thing. I just love his playing. Charlie Watts. That kind of, if you speak to any drummer and they'll always defend Ringo, it's insane that still all these years later you're having to defend his playing.
Yeah,
Having played in cabaret bands, trying to play the Beatles tracks, they're impossible. They're impossible to copy. I just love his style. Peter Freitas was probably my first big drumming hero.
yeah.
The Men were the band I saw more than anyone. Jungle Beat Joey Musker, obviously.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, a lot of the drummers I think you interview will say Stuart Copeland because he was, I think technically he was great. Uh, and because of him and Red Carter, I actually played open-handed for years, that kind of jazz style. But then I just played match grip when I had to hit them harder. Um, Dennis Davis, probably the Bowie drummer, is
Oh,
probably number one because Bowie is my all-time hero. So
yeah.
Dennis Davis, that that rhythm section, Dennis Davis, George Murray, and Carlos Alomar. I'd love. I saw Bowie lots of times, but I never saw him with that that damn rhythm section. But I could listen to George. I could listen to Dennis Davis all day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Manny Gabriel, and they're the sort of the contemporaries. Chris Sharrock, great drummer.
Oh, Chris Sharrock, yeah, he's amazing. He's another one that's not on any social media.
I don't really know him. You know what? I think I've spoke to him once, and that was on the top of the ferry. And so when I worked at Brookside, the fellow who owned it, Phil Redmond, said, "Hey, is a videotape of the drums across the Mersey, and you're on it." And I've never watched it. I don't think I had a video player. I'll have to get it copied over for Joe because Mersey Television filmed it all, and it
Yeah,
started off. And I think it was Joe, me, Chris Sharrock. I think we're on bongos or something on the top of the ferry, and it was like counted it in. There was about five of us, and that was the start of it. I
oh,
don't even know
wow.
whether. I presume Joe must have. It was on the local news, and Mersey Television filmed it and filmed the concerts. Um,
Has it ever been released? It's a
no,
sort of like a
it was
DVD.
just, it was just rough footage. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Oh, it's not like a proper
No, it was
film, or oh,
just
all
a
right.
Russian. He said, "Oh, look, you're on this." It was years and years later. And at that time, I didn't have a video player, and I still haven't. But I've got it written somewhere. Drums across the Mersey outtakes. But it was on.
Yeah,
It was on the local news. But
yeah.
yeah. So
Because that
look,
was it. I only found out about that Jumped Over the Mercy when I started like doing research when I wanted to interview Joey Muscat. And I didn't know. I've never heard of that one, but it was just
yeah, it
absolutely
was only a
amazing.
local thing. I mean, in the night, I was playing in the Munchies then, so I saw the Farm play that night. Madness played. Uh, I remember talking to the drummer out of, I think Roddy Frame played. I remember talking to his drummer, who's a great drummer, now plays with Dexys.
Right. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, I was like 17 or something, so I was I was a pig in shit. Peter Freitas, as I say, playing, and Joe used to do all mad stuff like that, and it was a good time. I mean, it was just read Will Sargent's book and all that stuff about the Eric era. I was, that was all the hangouts and all the
Yeah.
bands and all that. That was the time.
It's amazing. And the second point, well, have you ever had any disasters apart from not having your chewing gum at the time of Warrington Music Festival? Have you have you
Well,
so
we actually came close to dying once. Yeah, I fell off stools and done all of that. But we were playing um, in a bull ring in. I was there. I went for the match the other. Liverpool played there the other week. What was it? Spanish City. Anyway, there was a bull ring. We
yeah.
were on, and the Mondays were on, and we were late for the sound check. And somebody phoned Owensell and said, "You're going to lose the sound check slot. You need to get there." So as we pulled up, there was all ambulances and police cars, and the whole of the lighting rig had fallen onto
Oh,
the stage, but had completely flattened my drum kit. And
oh,
Derek Ryder, who Sean's dad sadly departed, had to jump off the stage to miss the yeah. And my drum stool was the back behind me. The drum riser went, the stool went, and if we'd have been on time for the rehearsals, I'd have been dead. So
oh dear.
that was a close one. Thankfully the farmer never on time for anything.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, yeah. Apart from that, I mean, there's monitor stuff goes. There's always some kind of chaos, but you get
Yeah,
over it.
you weren't so like fell off while you were playing when you were so like high
Probably,
up.
yeah. I think I had a fight once with someone. We're playing in Jersey, and for some reason it was like towards the end of the farm. So we're playing this gig in Jersey, but for some reason the stage was in the middle of the venue, and I remember some lad was flicking ale at me, and I turned around and hit him and carried on playing. And Carl said it's the funniest thing he'd ever seen. He said because you didn't drop the beat, you carried on playing, and hit him. But luckily he never hit me back. Uh, yeah, being in the farm's there's always something going on.
What would your advice be to so like aspiring drummers or musicians or even script writers and
Don't
yeah,
talk about it, do it. It's with script writing. It's really easy to say, "I want to be a script writer." Well, get a pen, get a piece of paper, do it.
we'll
With
do it.
drumming, it's a bit harder, but I think what's sad at the moment, or what's sad now, is when I was growing up, there was a way to earn money, and that was playing cabaret. Now, some people really turn their nose up at it, saying, "Oh, we just do original stuff. We don't do cabaret." I mean, I suppose there's the pub circuit, but at that time, every night, every social club, every pub would have bands on. So
Yeah,
don't be afraid to be in covers bands, and that's how you learn. That's how you learn your trade. So pick a drummer that you like and learn to play his or her rhythms. Learn their style. Don't
yeah,
make it become your style. You know, take it. So I grew up playing to Bowie, to Peter Fritas, and to Stuart Copeland. Now I'm nowhere near as good as any of them, and never will be. But that's how I learned to play the drums, playing to
right.
them, and then just playing in pubs and clubs. And for every gig, a gig is worth 5 rehearsals. So we're not great at rehearsing. We just don't. We turn up and make excuses, and we know the set, so we don't need to rehearse it. But we need to rehearse it for physicality, especially for me, because I don't play for a year, then I play a gig, and I'm like
Yeah,
panting for breath. But an hour rehearsal, you know, an hour's gig is worth 5 hours rehearsal because you just lift your playing. So just play as much as you can, play wherever you can, play for whoever you can, and I think what's sort of tragic at the moment is that um, music has gone middle class again, and that's because if you listen to Six Music, um, when they're interviewing bands, more often than not, they're all middle class because it's now become, to get to buy the equipment, to rent the rehearsals, to be able to, play, get
yeah,
gigs. It's just excluding working class kids again. There are great working class bands out there, but compared to the 90s and the 80s, you think about it, music's gone posh again. The last great working class band were the Arctic Monkeys, and that was 15 years ago. And there are good bands, and there are great bands in Liverpool, but I just think that barrier has gone up again. It was sort of knocked away in the 60s and 70s, but it's, I'm just fed up of listening to poshos on Six Music. Let's get some working class kids on there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So that's a
Yeah,
very interesting song. Like, because I suppose I do see quite a lot of new bands when they're sort of like supporting the
yeah,
bands that I see. Because I'm still sort of like, I don't know. My brother used to say that I'm stuck in the '80s, but it's not really like that. I'm just thankful that like bands like yourself, The Farm, I get to see it now.
yeah.
But I never had the chance. So, like, of course, when I was in the UAE, I never had a chance to like see. I don't think you traveled to
Yeah.
Dubai or
But it's
the
sort of
UAE,
interesting.
right?
Times have changed. So when we were popular in the 90s,
Yeah, yeah,
generations behind us would have been the Merseybeat bands, and sort of they were sort of consigned to the cabaret club. You know, whereas now bands, you think about the equivalent then would have been someone like the Foremost or all those bands, but now the equivalent is Oasis and the Happy Mondays, but they're
yeah,
still in festivals. So that sort of 60s era sort of lost, they went in another way. So it's great. I think what is good about music is it's much more tolerant. There's a lot less snobbery, and that's
mm,
mainly to do
yeah,
with the demise of the music press. So whereas the NME was just, it was brilliant, but they were snobby about bands and they could finish a band. Whereas now there's a lot more, things like the Wombats are really popular again. That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. They wouldn't have been allowed to be popular. But now they come back and they keep playing and they keep
yeah,
touring. That's great. I think, the
yeah,
dividing line between heritage, this title of heritage, is sort of fading away. So bands like the Shed Seven, they never stopped. So they're not seen as an old band because they never stopped. And the Charlatans aren't seen as an
yeah,
old band. They never stopped. We sort of messed up because we stopped for 10 years. So when we came back, we hadn't released anything for 20 years. And, we are a heritage band. That's all we do. But,
yeah. But you released "Feel the Love." That
that's a
was
great EP, that, yeah. I
amazing.
mean, I'll say it again. Steve and Peter and Keith are great, great writers.
Yeah,
I think we will do more. That EP, we got Radio 6 playing. I think there's great songs on there, but, I'm a Farm fan, so I'm a bit biased.
yeah. I just remembered because the other day, me and my daughter were talking about because she said to me, nowadays we don't have like a major artist like the whole world
Yeah,
knows about, like, let's say Michael Jackson or Prince or Madonna. I think nowadays, because there's so many that you can, there's so many outlets out there. You can go online or
yeah,
if you like listening to the radio, but there isn't really that one focus. So like saying that you've got to listen to this musician or this
yeah,
artist,
yeah,
and then the whole world actually knows about this. But
yeah.
nowadays it's like you've got to
Yeah,
find your own.
it's fragmented. As I say, there's just so many great bands out there that you can go and see, new up and coming bands. I mean, I
Yeah,
listen to music all the time, and some of the stuff that like Mark Riley plays and um, McConey plays, there are just great bands out there, and you can go and see them. Sometimes you have to go to Manchester, but there are venues in Liverpool that will come and play, and so there's great stuff out there, and some of the local bands as well.
who would you recommend for sort of like new band to
Uh, like I
follow?
really love, sorry, not wet leg, dry cleaning. Um, who else? I'm off on the weekend. I'm going to see Aldous Harding. Uh, who's brilliant. Concert the weekend.
Yeah,
Uh,
have you
yeah.
heard of the Peach Fuzz?
Who?
The Peach Fuzz.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna go and see them on Thursday uh, this week. The
yeah,
Casimir, I think it's
yeah.
called. I've not been there, but I'm sure it's easy
That's
to
good.
find.
Yeah, I'm off to see Gweno next week. She's playing
Like, yeah,
Liverpool. She's really good. So there's great, great bands out there.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
if all these bands are playing, then there's jobs for drummers out there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I hope to see the farm again soon.
Yeah.
Um, um, just a bit sad that you're not playing Shine On because I always like so like seeing the
They can't
farm.
have the same bands on every year, can they? I mean, I suppose they can, but I don't mind
It's
the year off.
synonymous though. It's there's no Shine On without the farm. It's all. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah. I mean, last year we had to pull over so I could be sick in a bin, so it's probably good that we're having a year off for me. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much once again, Roy. I feel
Well,
really honored. You know, I feel really honored that you came on Ask the
yeah,
Drummer. So thank
yeah.
you so much.
Hello,
And
Joey.
enjoy the rest of the week, the weekend. So,
Yeah,
and hopefully see you again
yeah.
soon.
Thanks, and see you in Liverpool. I'll give you that tour of Yorkie's cellar and
Oh, yes, that would be
drive
brilliant.
around.
Finally, because I said to Yorkie that it would be great to to meet you because I've got this book about the Cherry Red. It's a compilation book about Liverpool music,
Yeah,
and I'd say more than 50% of the information they're provided by Yorkie. So I really need Yorkie to sort of like sign
yeah,
that book. So yeah, well, next time I really look forward to that tour of like
yeah. Take your
Liverpool
time,
music.
Kensington as well.
Yeah. Oh, that would be
You make
brilliant.
a tour.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much,
Right
Roy.
then.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very
And
much.
yeah, see you again soon.
Uh,
Take care. Take care always. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Bye. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so looking forward to that. It really made me happy that. Right. So thank you so much for joining us live. I really, really enjoyed that. And oh my god, I love the farm. I forgot to tell him that actually altogether now it's one of my all-time favorite, in my top 10 of all-time favorite songs. And I just love that song so much. But anyways, yeah, he's just amazing. And so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Roy. And like I said, we've got another episode coming up this evening at 6 o'clock. And I'm wearing the t-shirt because it's Mel Gaynor of Simple Minds that I'm really, really looking forward to chatting to. Hopefully it'll be here. But yeah, and as ever, love music, love life, and love drummers because they're just the best. They're so awesome. So I'll see you again, hopefully in 4 hours or 3 hours. All right, bye for now. Bye.